Welcome back to the channel. I was on vacation for a couple weeks. Now I drove the car to Florida to let mechanic brother work on the car a little bit. It needed a new clutch. We wanted to install a Wavetrac LSD in the car, and all that work was done while I was gone.
Getting ready to head down to the shop. So today is going to be an adventurous day. We're going to get some maintenance done, as well as clutch upgrade, LSD, diff install, and some other goodies.
I have not driven the car yet. He's driven the car, of course. He says it's amazing now. We'll see. We'll see. I have high hopes. I wouldn't have gone this route if I didn't think it was going to work out. Let's go get some coffee. So my initial impression is the clutch feels completely different. The bite point is in a different place, and it's much more rigid now. I will say I haven't had a good clutch in probably 3 or 4 months. So yeah, that just, if you put in a stock clutch, it's going to feel much better than what I was feeling. But this seems to have a good bit of bite to it, which is good. So when you shift gears, it's just immediate traction. Now the LSD, just how I threw it around the corner, the confidence I think I will get from having that LSD in the car handled spectacular before, but it just seems a little more planted even in that first throw of a corner. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun to drive with this in the car, especially on this long road trip that I'm about to do today. As you can see, I have some tires in the car that we're going to put on before going on the road trip. So I'm going to get some coffee, and then head to the tire shop and get an alignment before hitting the road. So we've got about 1,300 miles to cover in the next 2 days. So long driving days. We're looking at about 18 or 19 hours of driving. It's just me. Okay, so we have mechanic brother here. So he did some work on the car while I was gone. So why don't you tell us what you did to the car?
All right, so for starters, he thought it needed a clutch. Found out when I took the transmission out, the clutch was actually still in pretty decent shape, but the tires on the car were a little bit worn, so the car was spinning a lot, but he had parts already accumulated to try to get the car to prevent all that torque steer, the zigzagging on an acceleration. So since he already accumulated the parts, we said, let's go ahead and just do a clutch flywheel, because we weren't sure. So I took the car apart and inspected it. It still had some life left on the clutch, but while the transmission was out, obviously, we decided to upgrade the differential and install a Wavetrac. So to try to compensate for the car on hard acceleration, zigzagging. So opened up the case on the transmission, installed a Wavetrac. The only hiccup I had was the new Wavetrac does not come with bearings, and we didn't know that. You had to take the bearings off of the previous differential. Luckily, I was able to get it at a local auto parts store, and on the second day, assembled it back. The Wavetrac basically now gives you 2 wheels to propel the car forward. I drove the car before. The tires were kind of marginal, and the car was all over the road. It would basically could pull you off the road on a hard acceleration, because one wheel's kicking in, one wheel's kicking out, and it's not consistent. The Wavetrac actually, on hard acceleration, locks both wheels. There's minimal slippage, but it's more controllable. The car drives like a totally different car now. It's more precise going into corners, and now it accelerates. It still spins the tires, but it accelerates much faster and more consistent, and then you don't have all that steering wheel jerking back and forth. So it's definitely a plus upgrade for this car. With the clutch kit was pressure plate. The original flywheel has a dampening where it compensates and it goes back and forth for the smooth transition for traffic. This chromoly flywheel is solid, but the clutch disc has springs in it. I also installed a OEM engine mount, and that we put some inserts in there to strengthen that mount. From the previous engine mount that was in the car, you don't have the kind of vibration. It's more of a factory feel. It has a new engine mount. It has brand new pressure plate, flywheel, throw-out bearing, clutch disc, the Wavetrac, and the additional bearings that we needed to complete the job. On this side, there's also a mount for the transmission that was also, we put some inserts in that firmed this mount up also. It's hard to see, but it actually bolts into the side of the chassis leg on the car.
So it's day 2 of the drive. I drove about 500 miles yesterday into last night from South Florida to North Florida in the Panhandle. I'm in Tallahassee right now. So we're gonna drive the rest of the day. Now the car is performing amazingly. This LSD, the Wavetrac LSD that we put in, is about the best mod I've put in the car. The amount of traction that the car has pulling out of corners, there's virtually no understeer and there's no torque steer, and I can put down all the power that I want. Now granted, I did also put on some tires yesterday, so we put on some brand new Michelin Pilot Super Sports. As you can see, the sun is coming up in front of me, and those tires are super grippy, so I have all the traction I would ever want out of this car. So we have about 850 miles to go, so this is going to take us about 11 hours. It should. And there's a gnarly storm that we're going to have to pass through, probably in Louisiana. So we're trying to get on the road. It's now just after 8 o'clock. Hopefully we catch a weak part of the storm, and it's not too bad. So we're about to find out, but it may take us a little extra time because of the storm. So let's hit the road.
So this is the first time I've driven the car, like really driven the car, since we've put the Wavetrac diff in the new clutch. We've also put on new tires, so the car's running 225 40 18 Pilot Super Sport tires now. What was on there before were Pilot all season, so much different tire, much stickier tire. Today it's running about 70 degrees, so at this temperature you can really activate these Pilot Super Sport. They're definitely a summer tire, but 70 degrees you can definitely get them sticky. This road is spectacular. There's very little to no traffic, just windy and hilly and sort of a little bumpy, but nice bumps. And let me tell you, it's the experience of driving the car now compared to how it was before. Before, what would happen is when you're driving at speed, sometimes you'd get an understeer. So there was a lot of limitation as far as throwing it into a corner. With this Wavetrac, it absolutely just hooks up in the corners, so you can accelerate through the corners, and the nose is much more pointy. It grips and it sort of pulls you through the corner really aggressively. So I'm really enjoying how pointy the car feels now, how much confidence it gives you when you're really going through some bends. It's really a dramatic change. Like, honestly, if you can do one thing and you have a manual Mini and you like to drive it spiritedly, change the diff, upgrade the diff. You'll see. It's one of the best mods that I've done to the car. Between the diff and the tires, honestly, it's so much more fun to drive the car now. It's like a roller coaster out here. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please hit the like button. While you're down there, go ahead and subscribe. That helps us a lot.